Hi, my name is Christopher Malcolm, and welcome to Movable Canvas, where we talk about cinema, arts, culture, and what those three things sometimes intersect. In today's episode, we'll have a closer look at Hollywood in the 1930s, with quite a bit of laughter thrown in Stand-In, the 1937 comedy directed by Tay Garnett and starring Joan Blondell, Leslie Howard, and Humphrey Bogart. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you may have heard of this title earlier in my Joan Blondell tribute episode. She's one of my all-time favorite actresses, and this is one of my all-time favorite movies of hers. Not that it's particularly epic in scope. Not that it's even that well known. In fact, you may actually have a bit of trouble even finding it on streaming. I own the DVD, another small vote for physical media, but thankfully the film is also available for free on the Internet Archive, so I'll be sure to link that in the description. But don't let the film's scarcity obscure its quality. This is one of those 1930s comedies that typifies the era in which it was made, and it makes many of us fans of classic Hollywood wonder why they can't make movies like this anymore. Ironically, what struck me so much last night when I was rewatching the film was not just that it's the kind of romantic comedy that we need more of in the modern age, but rather what struck me was how incredibly relevant the 89-year-old film still is to this exact moment. The film Stand-In centers around a movie stand-in. For those unfamiliar, one of the jobs on a movie set is someone called a stand-in. These are usually professional actors between other jobs or just people with the uncanny good fortune to physically resemble a lead actor in a movie or a TV show. Their job, as is stated in the title, is to stand in for the leading man or the leading lady. Making a movie can be a far more tedious process than you might imagine from looking at the final cut. It's mostly long hours of waiting around between actual shots while lights and camera are being moved into position. Of course, the bigger the star, the less likely they're going to want to stand around there just sweating under hot lights while the cinematographer measures his lighting ratios. So as Blondell says during the film, they hire a stand-in to do their sweating for them. It's not the most glamorous of jobs on a movie set, but when it comes to this movie, that's kind of the point. This is a film that celebrates the people who actually make the movies, the thousands of blue-collar workers that far outweigh the faces in the celebrity magazines. As our movie opens, a millionaire with no particular affinity for the people he's managing is trying to make himself rich by selling a movie studio to another bored millionaire. In order to best assess the financial situation, the seller sends his lead accountant, Atterbury Dodd, played with nebbish constraint by Leslie Howard, to do a review of the business. His job is essentially to reduce the number of units required for production. By units, he's referring to the people that actually make the product, viewing them as just numbers on a spreadsheet to be added or subtracted to make a profit. One of those units is Joan Blondell, the titular stand-in. After a meet-cute, a bit with a trained seal, and one of the most unnerving impromptu child musical auditions you'll ever see, Blondell's Lester Plum character ends up working as a personal assistant to Atterbury Dodd. As it turns out, the ability to speed memorized lines as an actor comes in just as handy when taking dictation. This being a romantic comedy, her interest in him isn't purely professional, but his sole focus on numbers and units poses a bit of a problem. At one point, she asks him directly whether he finds her attractive. His less than eloquent response is to do a scientific analysis of her, and he logically deduces that because he does seem to enjoy looking at her, that she must be, by mathematical definition, objectionably beautiful. Now, Joan Blondell, in addition to being so beautiful that it didn't require a calculator to answer that question about her beauty, also specialized in playing characters that were what I call salt of the earth. She always played the type of woman that you not only wanted to go to bed with, but that you also just want to hang out with. Like, she was cool, she was caring, the type of person that would sacrifice themselves in a minute if it meant they could protect somebody else. Then make a wisecrack about it just to keep everybody laughing. But it can be hard to laugh when the 3,000 employees at the movie studio Colossal Pictures suddenly face the prospect of being put out of work just so the millionaires can make another buck. Sound familiar? As I'm producing this episode, Hollywood is in the midst of seismic change, not least of all as an acquisition drama worthy of its own film. Paramount Pictures, headed by David Ellison, the billionaire son of Oracle founder and mega-billionaire Larry Ellison, is trying to buy legendary motion picture studio Warner Brothers. The Ellisons had just bought Paramount only less than 2 years ago, and their move to consume yet another legacy studio has been met with something less than enthusiasm around town. Well, unless you're David Zaslav, the current head of Warner Brothers, who stands to make $800 million or more personally if the sale goes through, at least that's according to the trades. It's no secret that the Hollywood business model has shown signs of fatigue, and some form of contraction in the business is inevitable. But the prospect of the Ellison-led version of Paramount Pictures absorbing one of the few remaining mega studios raises real concerns. We'll leave aside for a moment the political implications of the deal. I mean, we live in a hyper-partisan world at the moment, and the Ellisons being allowed to purchase Warner Brothers would effectively give over a significant portion of the airwaves to a very specific worldview. The types of movies you will see and certain opinions being expressed would be fundamentally altered. But even if that prognostication doesn't come true, there are more objective facts about the deal that are far more concerning. The financing of the deal itself comes with certain funding sources attached that could pose issues down the line when it comes to transparency and who the owners are ultimately accountable to. Add to that, Paramount is taking on a net debt of roughly $79 billion in order to finance the merger. I mean, you don't have to be Atterbury Dodd to know that that level of risk may not factor so well into the long-term stability for shareholders. But of course, the most pressing issue is for those at the top. It's not what will happen to the Billionaire Boys Club and their stock options. The pressing issue of the Paramount deal is exactly the one that's brought to comedic light by our film today. Regardless of what happens with the content direction, regardless of whether the combined company would actually hold to their promise of doing 30 theatrical releases a year, and regardless of any ulterior motives or not. As Atterbury Dodd would say, math is math. It's the perfect science because it's the only equation on earth that's never wrong. And with any merger, in order for the Paramount and Warner Brothers deal to make any financial sense at all, they're going to have to slash cost. Almost certainly that will come from exploiting redundancies in the company's combined assets, their combined units, you might say. In other words, if this deal goes through, thousands of people are going to lose their jobs. Not just movie stars or established mega millionaires looking for their next project, but I'm talking about real people that actually make the movies. The blue-collar workers who build the sets, get the coffee, do the studio accounting, or put in long hours in the marketing departments trying to sell the product and keep the studios alive. Of course, this merger prospect has extra urgency because it comes at a time where the industry writ large is in turmoil. Streaming was already having an impact on profitability of production long before the pandemic came along and shoved the dagger into theatrical numbers. 2 years of forced limited production were followed by another work stoppage brought on by union strikes and labor unrest. At the heart of much of that unrest is the birth of AI and the far more existential threat to the human workforce that lives in the threat to their daily jobs that could be replaced at any moment. Whether going from silent to sound or film to digital, filmmaking is a craft heavily dependent on developments in technology. So how will this virtual threat impact the art and the livelihood of those who make our living through analog creativity? It's easy to lose sight of the people who make the movies in an industry built on glamour. Entertainment Tonight isn't doing many profiles on the key grip who works long hours on your favorite police procedural, but these are the type of people that make the movies we love. And just like Atterbury Dodd, Lester Plum, and Douglas Quintain, the tireless producer played by a pre-Casablanca Humphrey Bogart in a rare comedic performance, we all learned that at the end of the day, what makes Hollywood Hollywood isn't just the movie premieres, the film festivals, or the trillion-dollar bonuses a CEO makes when selling off his company. What matters the most in this town, or any town, are the units, the people, and they are worth fighting for. Thanks again for watching another episode of Movable Canvas. If you like this kind of material, please do hit the like and subscribe buttons below. I try to post a new essay about like once a month where I talk about the best that Hollywood and the rest of the world have to offer. And please do leave me a comment. Have you seen Stand-In? What's your favorite scene? I think mine would have to be either when Joan Blondell teaches Leslie Howard like jujitsu, or when Humphrey Bogart leads a one-man strike against the local bar for not serving him alcohol. And what's your opinion on the potential merger between Paramount and Warner Brothers? A net good? A net bad? What's your opinion? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. But until then, thanks for watching and have a great day.